answer for. And one of the things that we try to do is we let the characters say what we anticipate that the audience is saying, and then the audience feels validated. They go, yeah, that's right, Hurley.
Exactly how
and then,
I'm feeling.
Then they stop asking it, you know? So the idea of like, hey, we're aware of it.
Yeah.
We know that anytime you do a time travel story, there is, there are potential sort of paradoxical issues involved.
And it's massively complicated. And, we thought doing time travel would be really cool. We thought, hey, we really want to tell these stories about the Dharma Initiative. How are we going to do that? Well, you don't want to just have some character come stumbling out of the jungle and talk, and tell stories about his time in the Dharma Initiative. The only way to make it interesting is to put our characters into the Dharma Initiative. So we were like, well, this is great. So early on was a conversation we had that we will eventually time travel our characters back there. But then you get into it, and it is a morass. And that was, that scene is a reflection of the kinds of really detailed, dense conversations that we would have in the writer's room. We had these big charts on the walls with the various timelines, island present, island past, 1977. And so we thought, we need to acknowledge for the audience that this is complicated, that this is detailed, and that, that was a place for the characters to basically say, yes, we understand what you guys are going through. Hopefully, don't sweat the details too much. We're going to get you out the other side of this alive.
And we sort of had this experience in the time travel season where at the beginning of every season, Carlton and I have to kind of walk across the bridge to the ABC building and tell the network executives what we're about to do. And every time we walk across that bridge, we're like, we are going to get fired. But the idea that, and you guys have probably all experienced this too, anytime you try to explain what's happening on Lost to somebody who doesn't watch Lost, they just go, why are you watching that show?
But, before you tell this part of the story, the first time we did this was when we went over to tell them about pushing the button. So we're walking across the bridge going, we're about to tell the executives at ABC that what's in the hatch is a guy, and he's pushing this button every 108 minutes, and if he doesn't push it, the world might possibly end. And Damon's like, maybe we can get jobs at Starbucks.
Yeah. I filled out an application today. And so,
we're like, well, we'll never have to go through that again. And now we're walking back across the bridge to pitch the time travel season.
So we went over there and they were like, okay, so basically the island is moving through time, and don't worry about that. But we're telling the story of the Oceanic Six as they come back to the island, except when they come back to the island, with the exception of Sun, they're going to end up in 1977. Except Sawyer is already there in a relationship with Juliet, and he's the sheriff of the others. And, and so we're just like saying this, and Steve McPherson and the other executives are completely kind of looking at us like this. We finish, like, after 40 minutes of pitching, we go, ha-ha, what do you think? And McPherson just goes, whatever. It's true. And he wasn't being dismissive, but at that point he was like,
funny.
I just have to trust you guys. If you say, if you're going to stick Josh Holloway in a Dharma jumpsuit for half a season and you say it's going to work, who am I to tell you any different?
Oh my God, when we do the narration for these clip shows, like the retrospective that's going to be on before the finale. And
the 6-hour retrospective?
The 95-hour retrospective.
I believe it actually starts in 2 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. You guys might want to get home for that.
It honestly, it's like the karma comes back around, because we sit there for like 3 hours and we just have to explain the plot of the show to these guys from Minnesota who make these clip shows, and we're like, oh my God, this is insane.
They're like, tell us about the Black Rock. Like 9 hours later.
Yeah. And Alvar Hanzo met Kato. It's like,
jeez Louise.
Oh my God.
One hears, over the years, in long-running TV series that the actors who play the characters, they become almost one and the same. Did you guys find that with any of your actors?
I mean, we talk about the suit analogy, that we don't do off-the-rack suits. We try to take measurements of the actors and sort of get a sense of who are they as a person.
But also, as we write the show over time, you start to see what the characteristics are of the person that's playing the part, and then you actually start to tailor. You write to those characteristics. We discover that Josh Holloway at the beginning of the show, he starts out, he's kind of he's not, he was like one of the lowest testing characters on the show, but then he's a really charming, lovable guy, so we started writing that into his character.
And then in the case of if we've already written a character and we're trying to get someone along, we're like, who can we think of who has these attributes? So like in the case of Michael Emerson, who we talk about all the time, who's cast as Ben, we're like, okay, we know this guy as a person. He is deceitful. He is He is
Unreliable, untrustworthy.
murderous.
Hello, dear.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you, Marty?
And then we realized that that's all because he's just a great actor. None of those things were actually true at all. He's the kindest person we've ever known in our entire lives.
You didn't let me finish.
That was so funny.
Well, welcome, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Good to see you. It's fun to be here.
Great entrance.
Thank you. I tried to time it out.
Very well done. We've been practicing for years. That.
Michael, I don't know if you know this, but we're actually being beamed into like 600 theaters in the United States and Canada, and some guy just got back from the bathroom and said, finally, something happened. So, yeah, keep your language clean, apparently.
I had a quick question for you. You play as a pretty deceitful character on the show, but actually viewers seem to have really embraced him, and they like him. I mean, so
Yeah.
how do you manage that feat as an actor?
I don't think about balancing good and evil. I approach the work, maybe this is just me, but I think of it scientifically. I just think, how do I connect the dots of the things my character does and the things my character says? And there must be some kind of human being somewhere that includes those behaviors. So my job is to find it, and certainly not to judge it. I never really think about whether I'm being good or bad. I just think about what I need to get done.
How
You know?
how does the bad thing not enter it when you're shooting people? Or
Well, let's count bodies. Who did Ben shoot? Oh, I see. Yeah, he shot John Locke. That's right. And
Charles Widmore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes,
right.
More recently.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think everyone's in sympathy with that violent act, aren't they? If anyone needed to die,
who are working on the show since season 3, I guess it's or season 2 actually. Who have you enjoyed working the most with?
I've had great scenes with a lot of actors on the show. Recently, I have enjoyed a surprising working relationship with Jorge Garcia, who plays Hurley. Two more different characters you can't really name on the show, and yet it turns out that fate and circumstance might have something for them to do together.
Nice hint. Nice hint there.
And I have to say, one of the most delicious scenes I ever did on the show was
A little later in the queue, but it was good.
I didn't know how much
I had to comment.
I was back there, it's like, was that it?
By the
If she
way,
wasn't the most confident back there going, because if he says another name, my window of opportunity is gone.
We're going to go to questions from the audience shortly. But if you want, you can start lining up. There are microphones on either side. Please line up.
wow.
Both sides.
No waiting
Both
at this
sides.
microphone. Oh, there we go.
This looks a cross between like an Olympic sprint and The Price is Right.
But first of all, we have one last question from our theater audience, and that's from Spyro Theologus from Guelph, Ontario. And let's ask
Hello,
her.
all you fans out in Guelph. I hope there wasn't too long a line.
Let's ask Jorge this one. Besides your own character on the series, who is your favorite character on the show and why?
Well, I mean, not